Okay, welcome everyone. Baruch haba, everyone. Anachnu kan hakol kan. Paraphrase Hills, okay? Mem ches amud aleph. We're starting from Mem Zayin and Beis on the bottom last line. Before we do that, a hopefully inspirational story. Um, okay, heard from Rabbi Haber. Is the following. Yeah, Haber. No, from Brooklyn, I think. Yeah, so probably one or two Rabbi Habers in Brooklyn. Yeah, Iroshakur Rabbanon. Okay. Morning, Baruch haba. So, right on time for the story. So, story from a Haber in Brooklyn. In Chavetz Chaim, in the 20s, 1920s, I believe it was, had a student, one of his, they had a yeshiva there. One of the top Talmidim in the yeshiva was named Baruch. Baruch was one of the top Talmidim in the yeshiva there in Radin. Sally Trupp, I believe, was a yeshiva there in Chavetz Chaim's yeshiva. And he was going to get married, and he went to Chavetz Chaim to get a bracha, to get some advice. So the Chavetz Chaim said to give him a bracha and said, Baruch, I want you to commit to me that you'll always keep Shabbos. Baruch was a little bit offended. He was one of the top Bachram in the Chavetz Chaim's yeshiva. You know, that's what he expects from him. I said, yeah, certainly, Rabbi, I'll always keep Shabbos. But I want you to shake my hand on it. Give me your word. Okay, shook his hand and took his word on it. No shot. The other stories about the Chavetz Chaim like that. But fine. And then life continued, and in the early 30s, the times were changing in Europe, and Baruch and his wife had a small family, and they realized they had to get out of Europe. And they were fortunate enough to get visas, or whatever they called them back then, to come to the United States. We got them, and they went to the United States.
All
How did you?
Romania.
Armenia, wow. Good for them.
Yeah,
Baruch Hashem.
saw what's coming.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Some people saw, yeah. My great-grandfather left in the late teens, whatever it was, 1921.
My mother also left because
Nothing there. Trouble on the horizon.
darkness on the horizon.
Exactly. I saw the things coming. So they came to the United States, but he quickly learned that the United States wasn't so easy to be the United States back then. Um, and he started working somewhere in one of these places. Happened to be one of the partners who owned it was a Jew named Mark. The other one was a non-Jew, and he discovered he finally found a place that they let him only work 6 days a week, nice, Sunday through Friday. But one day Mark calls him to the office. One of the owners said, Baruch, I hate to inform you this, but because of the difficult situation, it was in the Great Depression, we can only hire workers who will be here for 7 days a week. I said, I can't. I can only work 6. Okay, so I have to let you go. So he went, and he every week, like the stories go, he worked Sunday through Friday, came back Sunday, didn't have a job, found another job, and a week had to find a new job. It wasn't so easy. It came to the point where his family didn't have what to eat. And he decided he just couldn't take it. He paskined for himself, it's pikuach nefesh. And he went, and he walked to the subway platform, and he's sitting there, and he remembers the promise he made for the Chavetz Chaim. He said, I can't do this. And he went back home, and he kept the Shabbos, whatever Shabbos he could. The next day, Mark knocks on his door. Mark was an irreligious Jew, not a hateful religious Jew. He was just not religious anymore, like many people in America. And fortunately, and he says, Baruch, you can have your job back. If I only work 6 days a week. And I was like, no, 6 days a week, and this time you're going to be a manager. Says, what's going on? He says, I'll tell you the reason why we told you 7 days a week. Because I have a partner in the business who's a non-Jew. He told me those religious Jews are all the same. They don't stand for anything. They don't believe in anything. And Mark says, I'm not religious, but I know these people stand for something. They do. They're good people. He says, okay, let's test them. So they took Baruch as the test, and they said, let's see if he'll really keep the Shabbos. And they saw he really kept the Shabbos. So Baruch, not only passed the test, but he also went okay. And Yeshmer Shabbos, Kel Yishmereni. We keep Shabbos, Hashem takes care of us. So you never know what circumstances you find yourself in, but ultimately, even if we don't know it sometimes, Baruch found out that's for the best. But Brit Hashem, we'll all know one day what's best for us. And, yeah. Those people who kept Shabbos in America weren't, I know it was like in Great Britain or South America, South Africa, but it wasn't easy until they passed the laws and whatever it was, the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it was, that it made it legal for people, a 5-day work week. Okay, so that's our story for today. Now we are on the bottom of Mem Zion and Mabez, moving into Mem Ches. We're discussing the case of people who who are suspect of not of giving false testimony. We'll discuss it, and we're going to discuss what the status is, and then we're going to continue on with the Mishnah. We're going to, as we go through, we're going to do one step in the Mishnah at a time. We're going to go through more and more as we're getting close to the end of the parak. Tomorrow, no, not tomorrow. I think it's Sunday, so we'll finish the parak, and then Monday we'll finish this. That's what Hashem. Okay, so let's start in the bottom of Daf Mem Zayin days. We have machlokas between Rav Chisda, Rav Huna, Rav Chisda. When you have two people, two sets of witnesses who come and testify something, and they're contradicting each other. It's not zomanim. They're just they say A and they say no. He said yes and no. You know, we saw them kill. We did not see them kill. They did not kill. Whatever. You know, he was Mechal Shabbos. He wasn't Mechal Shabbos. Not only that, for example. And so one of the two sets is false. It's not telling the truth. So what's their status in future cases? So Rav Huna said they still can exist in a vacuum. They can exist as good witnesses. And Rav Chisda said no, they're not good witnesses. Rav Huna, we have to qualify that, but in principle, Rav Chisda said, so Rav Huna said that. Rav Chisda said, because they are clearly one of the two sets is false, we can't believe either of them in future cases. So based on that, Rav Huna bar Rav Yehuda, different Rav Huna, is going to ask a question. So here we are on the bottom of Mem Zayin on the base. Most of Rav Huna bar Yehuda, Rav Huna, the son of Yehuda, asks a question based on a brisa, the following brisa in Rosh Hashanah. Echad Omer Gavoa Beis Mirdos, Echad Omer Shalosh Edusan Kayemes. We need background for this. We have a case of Kiddush HaChodesh. Kiddush HaChodesh used to be done al Yedei Riyah in the good old days, even after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash for a few hundred years. I'm not sure how many. They used to, the way they used to determine when the Jewish month started was based on the Riyah. When they saw the new moon, they would determine whether the month was 29 or 30 days, because the Hebrew calendar is 254 days. 354, right. See, I want to get the Pesach already, you're right. So that makes it very short, right? Yeah, make it very short year, right? 3 months short. Yeah. Did I pick which months I'm going to leave out? Yeah.
You're online, so
yeah, right.
Anyway, it's straight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you. So 354 days in the year. So if you take 29 and a half times 12, you get 354, I believe. Too early in the morning for advanced math, but that's what you get to. So some months have 30 and some months have 29. So which ones have which depends on the Riyah. They come and determine it. Chazal, the Sanhedrin also determines. They have to make sure certain other factors, but general rule, it would be determined based on two witnesses that come and see the new moon, and they'd come to the Sanhedrin and say, "We saw the new moon," and that's how it would be determined. So they would cross-examine the witnesses, as they say. They would make sure their testimonies corroborate, and they have determined that they were accurate. So one of the ways they did is they determined how high they saw the moon. They do it based on, relatively speaking, what they call pretty high, right? But obviously they're not saying we saw it. How do you see it? This touch the sun, the moon look this high. Obviously, relatively, it's millions of, I don't know, whatever it is, miles. A million miles, whatever it is, 100,000 miles. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, it's a distance. But they use it relatively based on mirdaos, which are a mirdas is a melamid bakar. Rashi says it's like a stick that they use, a pointy stick they used to move the cattle along. It was a common item, so people would know. It looked to me like that high, like two of them or three of them. So that's how they check the witnesses to make sure their testimony regarding the new moon was accurate. One of the things they would ask them, which direction the was facing, etc. Okay, Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so Echad Omer, one of the witnesses come and said, this is right in the beginning of Mem Chesam Aleph. Echad Omer Gavoa Beis Mirdos. One says the height was relative height was 2 mirdos, these cattle sticks they used to prod them along. Is that a cattle prod? Is that what it's called? Whatever it's called, cattle thing. Echad Omer Shalosh, and one says it was 3 tall. Then Edusan Kayemes. That's close enough, basically. That we could corroborate their testimonies. Their testimonies are accurate enough, and we established their testimony, and based on that, we can be Kaddish the Chodesh. But however, Echad Omer Gimel, one of the 2 witnesses says it was 3 high. Echad Omer Chamesh, one says, hey, 5 tall. Edusim Betela. Their testimony is batal. They're not. Oh, I forgot to switch the page here. Sorry. Their testimony is not. There we go. What's going on here? There we go. Sorry. I'm waiting for that perfect technological day when Mashiach comes. All the technological pieces will work out perfectly. That's what Hashem. Of Eidul Sam Batela. That's too far apart. Clearly, we can't corroborate the 2 testimonies, and clearly one of them is not telling the truth. So we say their testimony is not good. However, they can join other testimonies. What does that mean? Presumably, my lav le'edus mamon isn't referring to edus mamon for other future cases. As Rashi says, kol echad man kosher lahed im ed in acher edus mamon. They can testify, join someone else in a future testimony, even though each of them is potentially a false witness. So what is that? That's a question on Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda said before, you have 2 witnesses and 2 witnesses. One says they killed, they violated Shabbos, and 2 said they don't. They didn't do X, Y, and Z. They did do X, Y, and Z. One of them is not telling the truth. Whereas Rav Chisda, they're knocked out as kosher witnesses. But here, this Brisa says that you have 2 witnesses. One is good. They can, even though it's a false testimony, you can join someone else. That's against Rav Chisda. Yes.
Sanhedrin know where the position of the moon each month, where it's going to be. They have the knowledge. But the halakha is that you need to do the same.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So there's every other case we've got that the rabbis of the Beit
Do not know.
Din the faintest idea of what they have to try and work it out.
Right. So you're saying, Peretz, you're saying that they know who's a false witness and who's not the false witness. I'm not sure that's the case. It may be that what we're asking them is they know like how it's going to appear, when it's going to appear, but I'm not an astronomer. The moon moves relatively. We're both moving here, and it depends on what time of the night they see it, wouldn't it? Depends. It could be here, here, or here. It rises. So they're asking, when did you see it in the night? If the new moon is in like a second, that period of time, that evening, they saw it. They can make the calculation. They can make the calculation.
Then the Sanhedrin used to sit. The Sanhedrin never knew when the moon was.
No, he'll lakota.
Relying on 2 witnesses coming in, and they can bring the.
But they have been struggling to know what, if a witness could prove, where was the moon?
They
had pictures were told.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
No business with them. They had it on the wall.
Rabbi Yochanan, I think. I don't remember. Rosh Hashanah, yeah. When Rosh Hashanah? Galil. Okay, thank you. Galil, that's correct. It wasn't a time name.
The position of the moon, what shape it was.
Right.
There's the question.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. They're two separate things. They did question, and based on that questioning, their testimony, that's how they established the moon. But they had the knowledge to be able to make the calculation themselves. Technically, that's how Hillel Zakit made the ultimate calculation that we have today. It's a pretty impressive feat. It's still accurate, so whatever, 16, 1700 years later, whatever, I don't know the number is. So that's pretty impressive feat. But
in the one Rosh Hashanah, the Sanhedrin, I learned, maybe I learned it wrong, but the Sanhedrin were caught when two witnesses, and the Sanhedrin convened and they questioned them on exactly positional.
Right.
It didn't say that they knew then.
they technically could figure it out themselves. They technically could. They had the mathematical skills to do so. But that's correct. But they needed, the halacha was they has to be done, if you can, through witnesses. That's the process.
Just let's get the case straight. In any case, the two witnesses come and they say we saw so and so. Okay, so they take each one in a separate room and they cross-examine.
Right. Correct.
We went through like 12 different steps that they have the filters that they have to determine. So each one, okay, depending on his if they both of them pass it, then that counts. Okay, that set of witnesses passes. It's the same thing here. The exact same thing here. They take the two witnesses and they cross-examine them separately. And if they come with each one the same within the parameters, the same testimony, there, not much less direct than a murder case, much more. But once they pass, then that's a good aid, regardless of whether Sanhedrin saw the movement or not.
Or no. Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
I understand.
Right.
I'm not.
So they may have the ability to do it, and we also saw when no witnesses came. What do? They Mekadosh the moon themselves. They take two guys and they do it themselves.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So let's.
Without seeing, but I've seen, so they know.
Right. Let's keep going here because it's a little more complex in the end here. So I'm gonna move it along. Okay, so we say Amar Rava, fourth line down. Rava says, "Hu v'acher mitzdarfon le'edus acheres." No, it's not that they can go. The one witness says 3, one says 5. It's not that they can go testify necessarily for another case. It's really fits with Chista. It's not necessarily the case. He says 3, he says 5. He finds another witness that says 5. They join together. And then you have two witnesses who get say 5, and then he can join in. But it may be like Rav Chisda for some other testimony. They may be suspect. But this is not necessarily a contradiction to Rav Chisda. The fact that it works here is because this one who said 5 can join with another one who said it's 5 total. That's the reason why it works out okay. Okay, good. So let's move on to the next piece here. Move on to the next piece. Okay, a little bit of a complex piece in the end. Okay, so now we move on to the next part of the Mishnah. Next part of the Mishnah. This quickly, the Rimigash says that Rebbe of also the Rebbe of Rambam's father, Rimigash. He says that Acheres means it's like a brand new testimony. It's not like it's an extension of the previous testimony. It's like this one, and it finds another witness, and they become a brand new testimony. It's the first one may be a little bit iffy as they come together to a brand new testimony, just to point that out. Okay, critical. So Amr lechanvani tainli dinar beperos. This is the next case in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says the storekeeper says he says to the storekeeper, "Give me a dinar worth of fruit," and he gives it to him. He's holding on to the fruit. And the storekeeper says, "Now, give me my dinar." And the halacha is that he says he takes a shua, and then he doesn't have to pay him. We assume he gave it to him already. That's the case. So we're going to explain the parameters of that case. Okay. So Tanya, learn the Bryce. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Emasai. When is this true that he has to swear before he gets out of the dinar? presumed if he got the fruit, he paid the dinar already. He has to swear to that fact that he already gave the dinar, pay as a payment. Emasai, bizman shaperos sivurin umunachin. They're right in front of them. Paris are there like on the counter, so to speak. They're wrapped up and ready to go and packaged. So then we presume that he paid the dinar. We wouldn't have said it like this, but we're not sure. So we make him swear, and then he's off the hook, doesn't have to pay the dinar. However, Aval, if Shilan bekupaso lachora, already put it in the satchel behind him, the buyer, then that's too far gone already. Then we're absolutely almost certain that that he must have paid the buyer, the seller, before he let him have the fruit. Then hamotzim chaver al varaya. Then the seller has to bring absolute proof. But then if it's already, on the other side of the counter, he put it in his bag, it's already behind him, he's ready to go. He's where's my payment? He wouldn't have let it go that far. So obviously that's not the case. Okay, so let's move on to the next case. Next case of the Mishnah is similar. It's not involving a storekeeper, but involving a money changer. Shulchani. Okay, the second case of the Mishnah is the same thing. The Shulchani, he says, give me a, I forgot the exact denomination. It was a dinar. Let's take a look. He wants him to change his money. He said, Chavani, this is Shulchani case. He says, yeah, give me a dinar's worth of malos. Change my dinar. Or like you go to the money changer, here's 100, 520s. That's the same thing, So he goes it. So Amr Shulchani, and then he gives him the change. He's holding the 520s. They're on the counter or wherever it is. He says, now give me the 100. He says, well, I gave you the 100 already. So since Fali wouldn't have given him the 20s until he gave him 100, so we make him swear that he did give him the 100, and then he's off the hook. That's the case. So it seems very similar to the previous case. Just, instead of money changer with 105 20s, for example, it's 100 and a basket full of apples. What's the difference? It's the same thing. So that's the Gemara is going to ask. Sarman Shulchani Tainli, Betzricha. We're on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines down. Betzricha. We need both cases. Both the case of the Chenvani, the storekeeper, and the Shulchani, and the money change. Why? They seem identical. Why we need both cases? Iyashmin and Hakamaisa. If we only had the first case by the Chenvani, the storekeeper, the Hachami Rabbanan. There, the Rabbanan say we make him swear. Why? Mishum de peri avidi de mirkave, because fruit tends over time will rot, will go bad. But he didn't have refrigeration, so it certainly would. The kiva and de mirkave, since the tendency is to go bad, he wants to get rid of his stock. He wants to get rid of his stuff quickly. Lo masho, he didn't wait. Lo masho, he doesn't wait. That's why normally you'd say, like, why do you give him the fruit so quickly? You pour it into his basket, and it's sitting there on the counter, ready to go, all wrapped up. Well, why did you take the money first? Well, there's a svara why, potentially, because he wanted to make sure this bar didn't change his mind. Give him his stuff, wrap it up, and say, okay, let's go, because he wants to move his schara, his stock. He wants to move it along because the stuff has an expiration date. The fruit does not last forever without refrigeration, etc. Therefore, we would say maybe he gave it to him before he got the payment. So therefore, we make him swear to assure that he did in fact pay him. That's why the Rabbanan say that. Aval Maos, but in the case of the Maos, we wouldn't know that. The low Mirkavi that doesn't rot, doesn't go bad. Ema Modula Rabbi Yehuda. He would then, the Rabbanan would admit to Rabbi Yehuda, like there's no way, Rabbi Yehuda said there's no way this person, the storekeeper, would let, or the money changer would let the 520s go, or the fruit go until he got the payment. Rabbi Yehuda says in those cases, you don't have to swear. You just off the hook. There's no way he would have given the stuff or the money or the change without getting paid. So you would, if we said the first case, if we said the case of the fruit, there's as far as to say why he gave it to him before he got the payment, because he wants to get rid of his stock quickly. So he quickly gave it to him before he got the payment, before he changes his mind, so to speak. But by the money changer, money doesn't rot. It's going to stay there for a month. He's not in a rush to make sure he doesn't change his mind. So he would certainly not have given over the 520s until he got his 100. So in that case, maybe the Rabbanan would admit to Rabbi Yehuda that he doesn't need to swear. Just this far enough that he wouldn't have given away the change until he got his money in the first place is enough. So therefore, we need that case. And if we say the second case, we only have the case of the money changer, we would say Baha Kama Rabbi Yehuda. In this case, Rabbi Yehuda says what he says, that No, there's no way a money changer is going to give the change until he actually got the bill first. Got the 100, he's not going to give 520s. Yeah. So he doesn't even have to swear, the guy who the customer. For sure, he wouldn't have, if he's holding the change, he certainly gave him money. He doesn't have to swear. But in the case of the fruit case by the storekeeper, by the chedmani, maybe the Rabbana would admit. But perhaps in this case, the Rabbana would admit, no, there is a different svara. Model lit Rabbanan, sorry. Rabbi Yehuda would admit to the Rabbanan, and he would say, oh, well, maybe by the fruit case, Rabbi Yehuda would say, well, maybe there's a svara to say why he's holding fruit already, because he wants to get rid of it, so maybe he didn't get the payment yet, give the payment yet. So therefore, we need both cases. We need both cases of the storekeeper with the fruit, and both cases with the money and the change. We wouldn't know them necessarily. We know both opinions otherwise. We might think otherwise. But in any case, we have this machlokas in both cases. The Rabbanan say, if the customer is already holding the fruit or the change, he has to swear that he already paid. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, we assume he wouldn't have given him the supplies, the money or the fruit, whatever, until he paid. So Rabbi Yehuda says he doesn't even have to swear. That was the case in the Mishnah. A little bit of extra explanation.
They're giving established market practice. Imagine the market, you come to perishable product. There must be some practice that why say one time the guy is keen to get customer to have it, one puts it in his, helps him put it in himself. That was a practice, and yes, I can see the argument. But if it wasn't a practice, how can you say so?
Well, if it was the practice to put in the fruit beforehand, before paying, well, we don't know that necessarily there was a practice. It's a good question. There must have been, it's a good question. If there was such a practice, that is also a chazaka, and they probably would have said it. So there seems to be that there was not necessarily a practice, but we're only going based on how storekeepers or money changers would protect themselves, seemingly. And this would be call it practice, or like that, logic would dictate that you don't give away the change before you get the people would run away. If everyone would go to Yesh, buy the groceries, take them home, and then get a call from Yesh, oh, by the way, you owe 140 shekel, they may not be open very long. This neighborhood, I'm sure they would. But let's use Wichita, Kansas. Not too many Jews. Yeah.
A bag of apples, for example, hand over the bag of apples, and you hold out your hand, money for this time. You get the money, gives you the apples, right? And the money changers, the money changer always takes the money first. Always takes the money first.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a that's the only thing between you and the money changer is that bulletproof glass. And between you and your produce, your apples in Yesh, whatever store, they're at the counter. You're sort of holding on to them, but you have to get by the guard or you're out of there. So with your receipt, so you don't get the receipt. So they have precautions for such circumstances. Okay. Okay, the next piece. It's about the third way down. The first one on the line is tzricha. There's two dots right after tzricha. Quote, next part of the Mishnah. Kashem shamru hapogemes ksuvasa. Just like a person who was. Oh. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you for joining us. That's Refuah Shlema. Feel better, Refuah Shlema. Okay. Okay, Refuah Shlema. Sok Sharko. Okay, the next piece, just question. Next piece, Kashem Shamar Pagemas Ksuvasa. Just like if a woman says, no, the ksuva I'm holding, that's 200, I really collected 50 of it. Then she can't collect, she has to do has to make a shua to collect the rest. She was pogam, she injured, she weakened her ksuva. So she has to take a shua, an oath before she can collect. we say, "V'chein yisomim lo yifru," so too, orphans don't collect without a shua. Now, as we said when we learned this, we're used to the fact that you don't collect from orphans without a shua. Here we're saying the orphans themselves don't collect till they take a shua for someone else. What's the case? What's that case talking about? So we discussed this, and this is a little bit of a repeat. Well, it is a repeat, but there's a few pages back, so it's only 2 days ago, I think it was. Okay, it's enough to loosen the memory a little bit. Okay, miman, from who? Who are these Yisomim orphans swearing to before they collect from? Ilema milova, if it's from a borrower, in other words, their father lent money and their father passed away, so they're collecting in place of their father. Avuhon shakil below shua, their father would collect would get the money, would collect without a shua. It's because he has some proof, doesn't necessarily need a shua. The inhu b'shua, and these Yisomim have to collect with a shua. Why? Why they need a shua? They're worse off. We were generally more lenient or more strict to care for Yisomim. Here we're putting more restrictions on them. So what do we say? Hachikamar. This is the case. When orphans collect from other orphans, lo yifrel b'shua. As we know, you can't collect from orphans without a shua. So you need an oath. So even though they're orphans, to collect from other orphans, like the case, for example, two fathers, Malv and Lova, lender and borrower, and then they both pass away, and then their children, who are both Yisomim, both orphans, the orphans of the descendants of the lender have to give a oath, a shua, to the descendants of the borrower before they can collect from them. That's what it's saying. And then Rav and Shmuel qualify it, and then this is what Rav and Shmuel says we're going to work on for a little bit. Okay. Rav and Shmuel, the Amr Tevai, Rav and Shmuel said on this, they both said on this, Lo Shanu, that's only the case, Ela Shameis Malve Bechai Love. That's true that they can take an oath and then collect, the Yisomim from another Yisomim, to take an oath and collect. That's true, says Rav and Shmuel, only Shameis Malve Bechai Love, that the lender died and his children inherit the deed, and they're collecting from, then they have to, then after that, the borrower dies, and then they have to take an oath they require to take an oath before they collect before the descendants of the borrower. That makes sense. That's the case it's talking about. That's when you have to take an oath. Aval, however, in a different case, that wouldn't be the case. Aval meis love b'chayim malva, if the borrower died while the lender was still alive, and now, by definition, the lender who's still alive, to collect from the orphans of the borrower, he would have to take an oath, and then he dies. So then his children, kfar nischayev milva levnei love shua. Then already they sort of inherited the need for an oath. That oath they inherited. In other words, the case is the borrower dies, and his children owe money to the malv himself, to the lender himself. So before the lender can collect, he has to take an oath. Then the lender dies, and his children inherit that oath, so to speak. They sort of inherit the oath that they need to take an oath. And as we say, Ve'edan amar shvua levanav. Read it again. Aval meis lova b'chayim malve farnes chayim lova levnei lova shvua. Ve'edan amar shvua levanav. You can't inherit or make others inherit a shua to others. Right. Lefi, as Rashi says, Lefi she'ein habanim yichol mishava shvua zu shenischayev laviyam. They can't take that oath, the same oath that you in fact owe us the money. Not clear why. It needs a little explanation, but there's a principle. The principle here that if they inherit the oath, they can't. So that's an important case. Let me just say it again because we're going to be discussing it some more. Again, let's get the case 100% straight. Malva gives money to Malva owes a lova, lender, borrower. Borrower passed away. Now, before the borrower can collect, he has to take an oath, shua, to the Yisomim, the orphans of the borrower, or he can collect. Then he dies. So he's sort of Yarshins. His children inherit. He bequeaths, whatever the word is, to his children that oath to take the money. So if that's a case where you inherit the pre-existing oath, you then can't collect. That kind of, what's the oath you're going to take? You take that you in fact do owe me the money. That oath they can't take. We'll talk about a different oath they can take, not according to Rav and Shmuel, others. According to Rav and Shmuel, they're in the situation that Rav and Shmuel said before, in the situation when they can't take an oath, you can't take an oath, you can't collect. That's the case. When you have this case that we just set up, they can't collect because they can't take an oath. We'll talk about different oaths, but in a moment. But that's the case here. Okay, so now we're up to Shlucha, Hamei, Shalchuha, rather. Okay. So here we are. Glad I brought my umbrella. Okay, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th last narrow line. 11th last narrow line. The first one in the line is Levanav. If you have the Oz V'Hadar version, there's a little dot after diamond dot after the Levanav. It says Shalchuha Kamei Rebbe Lazar. They sent this question to Rebbe Lazar, the Amora, Rebbe Lazar, the Amora. Shua zu mativa. What's the nature of this shua? This case. Can they take the shua? Can't they take the shua? Again, the case where the borrower dies, and so the lender now has an oath he has to take, and then he dies. The lender, those kids inherit that oath, and they can't take that oath. They can't pay. What's the nature of this? I asked Rebbe Lazar. They sent this to Rebbe Lazar, this question. Shalchua kamed Rebbe Lazar. Shua zu mativa. What's the name? How do we work this? What's the case? Shalach lahu. He sent back to them an answer, Rebbe Lazar. Yarshin yishban shvuas yarshin v'notla. They take a different oath, not an oath that, yes, we know that they owed us money, like the father would have. They're just the orphan. What do they take? They take a shvuas hayarshin. Shvuas hayarshin, we discussed previously. We discussed a shvuas hayarshin. Like Rashi says, "Kagon shvua shelo pakadnu abba." What's the oath they take? A different oath. Not that we are definitely owed this money. That our father did not command us that it was paid. We do not know that it was paid. We don't have any documents that it was paid. That's a different type of shvua. So it's a weaker shvua, I think. But that they can take, and with that shvua, then they can collect. Rav and Shmuel says they can't take a shvua that it's owed to us, no payment. Rabbi Elazar says no, they take a different shvua that we did not. Our father didn't command us it was paid. We didn't know it was paid, and we didn't leave us any documentation that it was paid. And then they collect. That's how Rabbi Elazar learns it. Machlokes, Rabbi Elazar and Rav and Shmuel, as we'll see. So continuing, Shalchuha b'yemei Rav Ami. They sent this question to Rav Ami in the days of Rav Ami. Same question. Amar kule hai shalchila ba'azli. You keep sending me this question again. I ashkachinam ba'taima. Milo shalchilalu. If I knew the answer, if I had the solution to the problem, I would tell you. Rabbi Elazar gave a solution. He said with the psak, he said, you collect. They can collect with the particular type of shua, particular type of oath. They said no. Now Rami says, I'm not sure. Ella Amar Avami, Holav Asali Liyadan Nema Bamilsa. Because you came to me anyway, and you're asking me, I'll tell you a related principle rule. As follows: Amad Bedin. If the father took the now again the same case, the father lent the two fathers, one's the lender, one's the borrower. Then the borrower passed away, and the lender himself takes the descendants, the orphans of the borrower to court. Amad Badin, then they're in din, umes, but then while they're in the proceedings or some in the process, the lender himself dies. But kfar nischayva malva l'vnei lo b'shvua. Already the father had to take a shvua, and then he passed away. Then they already the sons inherit that oath that was created in court. They need to take that oath. And as we said, you can't be yarshin, you can't sort of bequeath, that's the right word, the oath to your children, because they can't take that oath that I did not pay back this loan. They can only take the different oath. But what does Ravami continues? Lo amad b'din, if the father, the lender, did not actually go to court with the descendants of the borrower, umes, and then he dies, Yarshin ishban shvuas yarshin b'notan. Then, since they never generated an oath, they can take the different oath. They can't take the full oath. The money was never paid to us. They can't really say that themselves. They say that our father did not command us that it was paid. We don't know it was paid. We have no documentation that it was paid. He didn't tell us it was paid. Whatever, about the exact litany that they can take. So, so that now Rav Nachman is going to ask a question on this. It seems muscular of Nachman. Nachman asks a question. Wait a second. It sounds like from the previous statement that what generates the oath, the need for an oath, is the fact that he took them to Bezdin. They went to Bezdin. Now they take an oath. But that's not true. We're going to see in a second. The truth is that as soon as the borrower dies and it's his descendant, that creates a need for an oath right there. Not that they go to court, that it generates a need for an oath. The borrower passed away. His children, his orphans, their existence, they themselves now inherit the need to pay this loan. That generates the need for an oath. So muscular of Nachman, it's the second to last narrow line. Muscular of Nachman, Atu Beidina Kamechayiv Leshua. Atu Beidina Kamechayiv Leshua. Is it the fact that they went to court? That's what generates the need for an oath. Meidna deshachiv lova echayiv lemalva levnei lova shua. From the moment, from the period of time that the borrower dies and his sons inherit it, that's when the oath is generated. That's when they need to take an oath. From the moment they become Yisomim and they have a loan they have to pay, that generates the need for an oath that the borrower requires a shua. So what's the Sign of Ami saying? Ella Rav Nachman, no. It says like this, Rav Nachman. Isa the Shmuel Isa. If we say like Rav Shmuel, so Rav Nachman says as follows. So we're in a suffix. Im Isa Rav Shmuel. If we hold like Rav Shmuel, we hold in a case where the children of the lender inherit the need for an oath, then like Shmuel says, and they can't pay the Isa. Then that's the case. We hold like Rav Shmuel, like Rav and Shmuel. They inherit an oath, and they can't take an oath. So then no one pays. They can't pay. They can't take an oath. That's it. Lessa. If we don't like hold Rav Shmuel, lessa. Then they don't. If we don't like Rav and Shmuel, then even though they can't take the real oath that our father said, that we don't owe you money, they could take the oath, like we said before, like Rabbi Lazar, that we don't know that our father owed the money and he never commanded us, and he didn't leave us any documentation, and then they can collect the money. So wait a second. So now we're saying as follows. We're saying that, what do we say? We say now that there's a suffix here. Says Rav Nachman says there's a suffix. When you have a situation where you can't swear, like the Somim, the orphans of the lender, who owe an oath to the orphans of the borrower, and they can't take that oath because they inherited that oath. They can't take that oath at all, like Rav and Shmuel. So we say, is it like Rav and Shmuel? They can't take an oath at all. Nothing happens. No payment gets moved, or not. Maybe it's not like Rav and Shmuel. That's what Rav Nachman said. Maybe they can take an oath and pay. So Al Masabkale, that sounds like Rav Nachman is in doubt. What's the ruling? In a case where no one can swear. That's in a case where no one can swear, there's no oath, so nothing happens. Rav Yosef Bar Minyomi, we learned this before on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, just 2 days ago. From Rav Yosef Bar Minyomi, Avad Rav Nachman Uvda. Rav Nachman himself, Paskin, that's how the case was. Yachloku. The Paskin, that case is a different case, as Rashi says. As Rashi says, Gabi Shnayim Hashudim. You have two people, both sides are suspect. You have let's say the lender and the borrower. He says, you owe me 100. He says, I don't need anything. Here's one witness, but the borrower can't swear he's suspect. The lender can't swear he's suspect. So Rav Nachman Paskin Yachloku. In a case when there's a doubt that you can't swear, Yachloku, they divide the difference. But here he's in doubt. Rav Nachman Paskin, in the case when you're in doubt, a different type of shua, it's a different case, but it's a case where they can't swear. Yachloku, divide. Here he's saying maybe it's like Rabbi Shmuel, you don't do nothing. Maybe it is like he takes an oath. Over there, he said very clearly, Yachloku, they divide the difference. So the answer is no. Here, when Rav Nachman says this, when he says maybe it's like Rav Shmuel, maybe it's not like Rav Shmuel, the Dvar of the Rav Meir Kamer, he's saying not like his opinion, he holds like Rav Yossi, he's saying like Rav Meir, the other opinion. Rav Nachman himself, Falelo Sfirolai. Rav Nachman holds himself, he says, in such a case, when you're in doubt, you can't take a shua, yachloku, you divide it. But the other side, the other opinion, he says, like other opinions, like Rabbi Meir, in this case, Meir talked about two sides that can't swear, and then, because they're chashav. But here, Rabbi Meir, the other side, the other opinion, Rabbi Meir, would be the suffix. Is it like Rav and Shmuel? Is it not like Rav and Shmuel? Like Rav and Shmuel, or a stalemate? Or is it not like Rav and Shmuel? They take an oath that we didn't get it, our father didn't tell us. So that's how we say. Okay. So now we're up to 3 more questions on Rav and Shmuel. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second, we're in Masiv. We're going to ask a couple of questions here. Are they all of Oshia? I don't think they're all of Oshia. I'll find out in a moment. I don't remember. The 3 questions that are asked based on Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel said in this case, when the Lova and the Malva, both the borrower and the lender die, and so you have a situation where the sons, they're inherited an oath. They can't swear to each other, so you just stand still and no one collects. That's what Rav and Shmuel says. So we're going to have 3 questions from 3 Mishnayos. They are all in Bab Mitzi, I believe. Shavuos. Oh, Shavuos, excuse me. Different cases. Oh, Shavuos, sorry. All cases in Shavuos. That's all. First one, Masiv Rav Oshia. Oshia has a question on Rav and Shmuel's principle from the Mishnah and Shavuos. Mesa, if the woman passes away, Yarsheha maskirin es ksuvasa ad esrim mechamesh shanim. We'll learn this when we get to Beit Hashem. If they have 25 years to collect her ksuva, her descendants, who are now the inheritors of her ksuva, yeah, so what's the case? A woman normally has 25 years after her husband passes away to get the ksuva. She doesn't have to mention it. In the meantime, she gets mizono, she gets fed from the state. But when she mentions it, within 25 years, she doesn't mention it, she can collect. If she dies in that period of time, her descendants can also collect her ksuva up to a total of 25 years from when they're, it could be father, it could be whatever. In this case, it's not their mother's husband. Right, it could be, but yeah, right, it could be, but in this case, not necessarily. They have up to that minute of time to collect it. So what's the case? The husband passed away, right? So now he has descendants, and then she has a ksuva coming to her, and then she passes away, right? So that ksuva before she passes away is collectible from the Yisomim, from the orphans, but only with an oath. Then she passes away, right? And now her descendants want to collect from the husband's descendants. Here they see they're not the same people. The question is, can they take a shua? Here it says they can collect, presumably with a different type of shua. We'll talk about, you have to take a shua, but the problem is they inherited that shua. Here it says they can collect. As soon as the husband passed away, those Yisomim, and before the wife can collect, she'd have to take an oath. Then she passed away. So that oath, they inherit. And yet, the Mishnah says they can collect it. That we see, that's not like Rabbi Shmuel. Presumably, they have to take some sort of oath. But Rabbi Shmuel says in that case, they inherit an oath, they can't collect. But here we see they do collect. So that's one question. So how do we answer that? No, she already took an oath. Before she passed, she was planning on collecting it. She took an oath to the orphans, the descendants of the husband, and she passed away. So the shul is already, Jack and Mark's already done, so they collect already. That's why it works. That's how Rav and Shmuel learned the case. There's no need. You didn't inherit a shul. The shul was already taken care of. And that's why they can collect. Okay, next case. Tashma. That's the question from another Mishnah. Nosa Rishona. He marries the first one, Umesa, and she dies. The husband marries a woman, and she passes away. Right? Nosa Shnia, and they have children. And they have children who are his descendants. Nosa Shnia Umes who. Then he marries the second one, and she dies. Shnia v'yorsheh kod min liyorsheh Rishona. The order of adifut, the order of who collects first, she and her descendants. The second one collects first, and then the first one. We'll get to this, Mirz Hashem, when we get to this. But the point is that we see that they're collecting. The sons are collecting. That's the case. The husband passed away, right? Right. And right. So they passed. Nasa Rishona Umesa. She passed away. Nasa Shnia Umes who, and he passed away. The husband passed away. So we see that the husband's passing away, and so he has descendants. And the Shnia, she passes away. She has a ksuva, and she would have to collect from her husband descendants. So we have that requires a shua, and then she passes away, and we say who collects first? But they're definitely collecting. They're collecting based on their mothers, for the ksuva from the orphans, and to collect from the orphans it requires shua. Then she passed away, and they want to collect from the orphans, but there's already a pre-existing shua. How could they collect from a pre-existing shua? Need for a shua, that is. How could they do that? The answer is, again, achanami shenishba mesa. Same thing. She took an oath about to collect. She was going to collect, that she wanted to take the oath, but then she passed away. So the oath was already done, so there's no pre-existing need for an oath anymore. It's already taken care of. They just collect like regular collectors. Okay. Third case. Tashma. Aval Yarshin mashbian osa v'as yarshah v'sabon b'rushosa. Okay, what's the case here? The case is that the husband made a deal that if she wants to collect from him, whatever the case, her and her descendants would not have to collect, would not need a shua to collect from him, or any of her descendants wouldn't have to collect from him. But then he passed away, and then, but the oath, the agreement was that neither was that she or her descendants wouldn't have to take an oath to him, but her descendants, his descendants, they would before they collect. So what do we see? That the children die, the husband dies, and now his descendants, when she wants to collect from his descendants, right? Then she dies, and her descendants want to collect from his descendants. Pre-existing shua. Sounds like Yevamos, right? We haven't gotten there. We're going to leave Yevamos for a while, don't we? And now it wants to collect. And how they can collect is a pre-existing shua. So Amar Shmaya with studying Katani. Different answer. Studying Katani. Osa Balmana. When we say that she wants to collect, that's why by Almana, that he dies and then she dies. So for her to collect, she can take a shua before she collects. The Yorsha begrusha. But Yorsha, her descendants collecting is by a different case entirely. That's by a grusha case. A case where he didn't, what happened was they married, divorced. Now he owes her a ksuva. He owes her ksuva, and he owes her ksuva, and then she would go and collect her ksuva, but then she passes away, and so then her descendants want to collect from him directly. So therefore, wouldn't need a shua at all. Okay, so that's how we get out of that. So Masiv, maybe we'll go over this next time, just briefly. Okay, I just want to officially turn the page. Or maybe I'll go over this last case tomorrow. Let's turn the page. I like doing that. Masir of Nasan. Nasan asked another question. Nasan Bar Hoshia says, ask another question to Rabbi Shmuel as follows. Yafa koach haben mikoach av. We say the following. This is in Chulin. Yafa koach haben mikoach av. The koach of the son for collecting is greater than that of the av. Shaben goa ben bishvua ben below shvua. We'll discuss this further. This is involved, this case. So maybe we'll go over the last case also, as I ran through it quickly. Yeah, we'll pick it up tomorrow, there. And
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Coming.